welcome to a new episode of Journey of a Christian Writer, and the first for 2024. In this episode, I'm going to go over the anatomy of book structure. Now, usually when I do my episodes, I usually have my blog posts already done, but this time I do not, so I am recording this episode before I actually have my blog post completed. So I'm just going to try to whiz through all of these different parts of a book or novel as best as I can, and just show some examples. I have some books here that I'm just going to show like examples of different things as I talk about some of these different parts, 17 parts of a book or novel. First, I'm going to talk about the exterior because the exterior is pretty self-explanatory. There are three main parts, obviously, for the exterior of a book, which are the front cover, the spine, and the back cover. There are some specific things that are usually shown on the front cover, the spine, and the back cover. For the front cover, obviously, we usually have the title on the front cover, such as this writing book by Jordan Rosenfeld that I have. Writing Intimate Character is an example of the title, and then sometimes the books do also have the author's name also on the front cover, as this one does. But those are usually what is on the front cover. Sometimes also on the front cover there may be like a short snippet of a review or something, is something else that you can also have on the front cover of a book, and that I've also seen on front covers of books. For the spine, you could have the title on the spine of a book, as this one. Some spines do not have an author's name on it, as this one doesn't. This book, writing book that I have, also doesn't even have the author's name on the front cover. It doesn't show his author's name until you open the book, actually, on the first page. So there's different ways that you can design a book's cover on the exterior. Then for the back cover, there is usually a short summary about the book's contents, and this is called a blurb that is usually on the back of the book, as this Murder, She Wrote book that I have. This paragraph right here is the blurb, and the blurb pretty much works like a business card to help draw the interest of a reader in them possibly purchasing the book, especially if it's in stores, if your book is in stores. It's just a simple, easy way to attract the reader's interest, pretty much. And the blurb is also a part of your metadata, something else that I intend to talk about later in the future on my writing channel. But those are all the three main parts for the exterior: is the front cover, the spine, and the back cover. Now, as far as the spine, there are certain things that determine the thickness of your spine, how thick or how thin that your book will be. And these include the word count, the approximate number of words per page, the interior layout of your book, and like the font size and font type. All of those types of things can determine how thick or how thin the spine is for your book. Specifically though, your word count and the number of words per page is what can really determine the size of your spine on your books. And that is by dividing the word count by the number of words per page. So for example, if you have a 75,000 word novel and you divide it by 250, which is the number of words, approximate words per page, then you would have approximately a 300-page book. So that is what can help to determine the actual number of pages in your printed book. There is a weight and spine width calculator that is on Ingram Sparks' website, which is a print-on-demand publishing company. They have a calculator that you can use to actually determine all of that about your width for the spine of your books. For my debut novel, Eva's Promise, I had like about 500 words in my debut novel. So it's a pretty thick book. The font size, again, like I said, is also a contributing factor to how many pages as well, though. I put my font size at 12 for this particular debut novel. But yeah, that is pretty much some of the things that determine the spine size, how thin or how thick your spine will be for your printed book. But that is all for the exterior of your book. Now I'm going to talk about the interior of books. There are two main sections for the interior of your book, and these include the front matter and the back matter. The front matter is all of the front pages of the book or the beginning of the book, whereas the back matter is all the pages at the end of the book or the back of the book. So there are some specific pages that are seen at the front matter, and these include the title page, the copyright page, the dedication page. A epigraph sometimes is in the front, which is what I like to use in my books a lot, and also by page, table of contents, the body text, and a prologue or introduction. All of these are different things that are usually at the front matter of a book. Title page is usually the first page that you see when you open a book, as in my debut novel. In some cases, you can have more than one title page. That's pretty much what I like to do a lot, is to have more than one title page. The first with just the title of the book, and then the second with the title and my author name. That is something that some authors do, and then some, they just have the title of the book inside of their books. It's pretty much a preference, whatever you want to do. But in some cases, you can have more than one title page. The copyright page is usually the second page that's on the back of a title page, right here. And usually just has the ISBN number. It could have the publisher name, the title of the book, the author name, and in some cases it also can have an author's note, which I think is a good thing to have in author's books, especially like for fiction books. Just letting people know that the story, was a work of fiction and not based on anybody's real life. But yeah, that's pretty much a lot of the things that is on the copyright page. And it can also have, if you have a book that's in the Library of Congress, it could have that information, whatever the code is for your Library of Congress. That also can also be on the copyright page, and whether it's printed in the US or not. But that's a lot of the things that's on a copyright page. For an epigraph is pretty much just a short quotation that is usually in the beginning of a book that can just sum up the theme of whatever the book's contents is about, or a particular story. That is what I like to do a lot in my Christian novels, is to have a epigraph, which is usually just a verse, as I have here inside of my debut novel. I usually just have like a verse, and in some cases it can be like some stanzas from a poem or something like that, is something else that some authors do as well, before they actually open up with the main body of the text or the contents. Some books can also have an also by page, or just a list of other books within a particular series, or the other books that the author has written, as this book has in Murder, She Wrote. It just shows a list of all the other different types of books that are within the Murder, She Wrote series. That is a good thing to do as well. If you have like more than one book that you have written, you could have an also by page, which can actually help to drive traffic to other books that you've already written. So that's another page that is usually in the front matter of books. And a page that I just decided to add in my current novel, The Pack of Freedom, to list my debut novel. Other things that are in the front matter are a table of contents. Not all books have a table of contents inside of them. It's another thing that's pretty much optional, but some books have a table of contents in them, as my Uncle Tom's Cabin book by Harriet Beecher Stowe. This is an example of a contents. Right here is an example of a table of contents, which pretty much just lists all of the chapters or other sections within the book is what the table of contents is. And then we have prologue or introduction. These two things kind of differ in a way. A prologue is more leaning toward fiction, I think, and an introduction is like just some information that's about the book, but not about an actual fictional story, like maybe about some research or something that was done to create the book, especially like if it's a nonfiction book or something. You may see an introduction in the front matter, but there are sometimes an introduction within fiction books, as it is in Uncle Tom's Cabin, my novel. There's an introduction in this, just about some historical things and some information about Harriet Beecher Stowe and how she came up with the story and stuff like that. So in some cases there can be an introduction in a fiction novel. And the last thing that's usually in the front matter that I'll be going over is a dedication page. I like to put a dedication page inside of my novels. Here's an example of one here. I usually just put for family and for friends for my dedication, so that's what I usually put on my dedication page. But that is all of the different parts that are usually within the front matter of the interior of a book. Now I'm going to go over the back matter. Some common things that are in the back matter of a book is the acknowledgments, an author's note, a author bio, story questions, a bibliography, and a glossary. Now in some cases, some of these, especially the acknowledgments, can be within the front matter as well, but I usually put them in the back of my novels, the acknowledgments. But acknowledgments, this can just be like anybody that you credit for assistance with the book. Maybe you interviewed somebody or something like that. You can mention people that you had help with your research or something like that, or just who encouraged you during the process of your writing. Things like that is what you can put inside of the acknowledgments of your book. You can mention like the editor, cover designer, stuff like that in your acknowledgments. Whoever you want to mention, you know, you can put within the acknowledgments. An author's note is pretty much like an ending summary that is usually, again, at the end of a book. Just talking about the author's process that they went through while writing the book is pretty much what that is, or just giving a thank you note to readers. Stuff like that is what is usually within an author's note. And then you can have an author bio, just talking about yourself, your process of when you started writing, stuff like that, things you like to do besides writing, you know, is what you can put within your author bio. You can also just say about the author, as I just put here in the back of my debut novel. And then you can have story questions. And this is also optional. Not all authors or novelists have story questions in the back of their books, but it is a good thing to have, specifically if you have like a book club or something like that, or you just want to give something for readers to think about after reading this story, is what you can have for like your story questions or discussion questions. I put some in the back of my debut novel here, as you can see. That just points out different things about the story, because there is a lot of symbolism within Eva's promise. That is why I put a lot of the discussion questions in the back. I decided to have questions. And then there is a bibliography. Bibliography pretty much just is a list of other resources that were used, or references that you may have made from other resources you can list within a bibliography. Here is an example within Uncle Tom's Cabin of a bibliography here, as you can see. But that is pretty much what that is. And then the last thing that I have for back matter is a glossary. A glossary pretty much is just like a small list of different words that have definitions. Maybe you had like foreign languages or something like that inside of your book or novel that have like different meanings. You could have a glossary for that, or if you have different like made up fantasy names and things, you could have a glossary for that as well, like for different places or different things in the habitat of your fantasy world or something is what you can use a glossary for. Or if you have like Old English or something like that. Just so people know what different things mean when they are reading through the main portion of your book. There's a glossary in the back of my Uncle Tom's Cabin book, because there's a lot of italicized words inside of the story, and they just put a guide in here so that you know what different things mean and what the references are and all of that, which I appreciate it. But that is all of the different parts of a book that I'll be going over. 17 parts of a book or a novel. Again, you don't have to have all of these inside of your book or novel. Some of these may be in more non-fiction books than actual fiction books or genre novels. But those are all the different parts that I have to go over in this episode. I know this episode is probably like kind of all scrambled, but anyways, that's all that I have for this video, and thank you for watching.